So we talked about delivering the face a little bit more square, the path a little bit more efficiently. Now let's talk about from this perspective. What we're going to reference when we look at it from this perspective is where that club head interacts with the ground. Now, preferably, we'd like that club head really interacting with the ground after the golf ball. That would indicate that that club is traveling a little bit more down, especially with the iron shots. Now with driver, obviously we want a little bit more up, as we discussed in the previous videos. But with the iron shots, the majority of the iron shots, we want some semblance of that club traveling down. Now here's where we're going to reference a term called low point. Now low point really refers to if I was to swing this golf club on a big circle, the whole radius of that circle was painted out in this big circle. Where's the lowest point of that circle occurring? For some players, as they swing this golf club, they nearly have this circle lengthen, and the low point, the lowest point, happens way back here. Now if that were to happen, I'm going to hit that alignment stick that we're going to use in the drill in a second, but also that club will be traveling up as it gets to the golf ball, which isn't very good for us in terms of getting a good arm player. If we have that club traveling up, that contact's going to be a little bit thin, we're not going to get our distance. Probably the club head's going to be a little bit different each time. So low point, or where this club really interacts, its lowest point on the arc, we want that to be after the golf ball, and we want it to be relatively consistent. If we can get good at that, it really improves our arm play. So here's a couple of drills that we can work on to help with that. The first one is this alignment stick we've just discussed. So as I kind of get set up here, what I have is this alignment stick just back from my right foot. Now, if I want to have it a little bit more closer, I can just basically move it just in front of my right foot here, and I'd have it about a handle length away from the golf ball. So we'll just set that up there and just move it a little bit more out of my way. Now the idea really being, as I swing this golf club, if I am that player, that tendency to get a little bit behind the golf ball, a little bit thin, by releasing that club a little early or lengthening that club out a little bit early, I'm going to hit that stick. So the encouragement is there for me to have that club off the ground when it gets past the stick and then descending into the back of the golf ball. So here's what the drill might look like. So I'm really just swinging through, just encouraging myself to avoid that stick on the way down. And that avoidance of that stick moves that low point further forward. So if I am a player that is either catching too much ground behind the golf ball, which can be the low point too far back also, just too deep, or I'm catching it too thin, this is a really nice drill. So again, when we set it up, the actual stick itself will be about a handle width or a grip length away from the golf ball. I'm just using the mid-iron here, but it's going to encourage that low point to be a little bit more ahead of the golf ball, create a little bit more compression. So that's the first drill in terms of really getting contact to be better in looking at it from this perspective. Low point, where does that club interact with the ground relative to the golf ball? So drill 2 when we're working on low point is really a very simplified drill, but it's really effective. It's what we call impact fix drill. So what we're going to do is we're going to falsify impact, or we're going to stage impact, and then we're going to move the club to get a little bit of momentum going, and then go back and try and recreate. So if I was to get set up here to hit this mid-iron shot, and I said to you at home, where do you feel you should be at impact? So if that's your setup position, if I took a picture of you in a perfect impact spot, what relatively speaking has changed? Nothing. Have my hands move forward? Has my weight moved forward? So here's what I'd like to see. If I got set up here, where would I like to be at impact? Well, what I would like to see is this left knee, this left hip would start pushing and pulling around me, and the pelvis or the belt buckle would start moving forward. So I'd nearly feel like my belt buckle gets past the golf ball as my hip and my thigh move around behind me. So if I put the club back on the ground and I did that, what'll happen is that handle will get pulled a little bit left. So that little shaft lean that we hear so much about really is caused by my rotation left, as opposed to me just simply pushing my hands forward. So if I get into that setup position again, what would be my impact would be from here, allowing that left side to turn and rotate, my pelvis moving a little bit forward, that creating the shaft lean. So that's my impact. Now I'm going to create a little momentum back about halfway and try and create impact again. Now that's just me training impact position, but the big advantage of that, to do it, all those segments that I want to move in that way have to rotate and move and go to where I want to go. So it's a really nice simple training or kind of development awareness task where I might want to be at impact, obviously with the club face and the club head, but also how the other segments have to move. So again, just getting set up, and from your normal setup position, and you can use a mirror to kind of feel this a little bit if you want, what I do from there. So my left side would start to rotate and move forward. That would actually pull the handle around behind me. That creates the shaft lean. And then from there, I'm really just in essence going back to about lead arm parallel, and then can I create that same position in impact and allow myself to keep moving through. So again, a really, really nice, efficient way of looking at good arm play is those great arm players move through the ball really, really well. They do that because they're great through impact. So we can get really, really good at that impact fixed drill. It can really influence how well I move through it and really improve my arm connection, compression, and all those other things that really lead us to shooting those scores that we want.